Ah.
Ah!
I
So how's voice things going?
think they're going a lot better now. I'm definitely way more improved than I was. I'd say probably 2 months ago. In
Nice.
fact, I do have a message from Alvi. She says the whispering slide is helping her so much with actually producing her voice at a louder like volume. So,
Yay! Yay, I'm so glad.
yeah. All
Hmm.
right. So I guess reasons why I wanted to do another session was I'm not sure where to go really from this point on. So if I just try working with my voice again real quick, just to see, like, let you hear where I sound like now.
Yeah.
Let me do a little exercise for it. I have to do the exercise. I'm like forced to.
Yeah, no worries. Use the exercises for as long as you need to. Like I still do the whisper slide.
All right, yeah, this is probably the best I'm gonna get right now.
Oh
But
yeah, that's not bad.
yeah. I noticed as I listen to my voice and like use some kind of like just tools, my pitch still seems to be a bit low. It rises a little bit. I've noticed, but like I don't know if the pitch is what's making it not sound right for me right now. But I can definitely tell the resonance difference when I do that.
Mm, mm. Yeah,
Uh,
so I don't remember if I've talked about this with you before, but the sorry, let me mute my phone. It's making noises. What kind of a phone makes noises?
I know, right? I miss those silent phones.
Yeah, they should just not put microphones in them. I mean speakers. So the way that pitch works is basically inertia. So like your vocal folds are kind of like flags flapping in a breeze. If there's a lot of air, that flag will flap faster. If the flag is like made of thicker material, then it'll flap slower. Um, and so it's like the frequency of the flag flapping, much like the frequency of the vocal folds vibrating, isn't determined by one thing. It's determined by almost everything that makes up the flags, and it's determined by almost everything like involving our voice. So like larynx height inherently changes pitch, partly because raising the larynx stretches out the folds, but it also partly changes pitch because um, when you have less throat space, it's easier to hit certain pitches and it's harder to hit other certain pitches because of really complicated acoustics stuff, waves bouncing off of the sides of your throat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then your vocal fold thickness can change your pitch because if your vocal folds are thicker, then there's more mass to vibrate, and that mass wants to vibrate slower, just like how you can flap your finger faster than you can flap your wrist, faster than you can flap your forearm, faster than you can flap your entire arm. Like,
I I hate that I did that as you were saying that just to test it.
I'm glad that you did that because I normally turn on the camera for that, but I didn't bother this time. Um, so, um, yeah, pitch will, if you're keeping pitch constant while you're changing something else about the voice, then you're probably changing two things about the voice. You're changing the thing that you know that you're changing, and then you're changing something else to prevent your pitch from changing. And so as a result, like um if you want to change exactly one thing about your voice, then pitch will change as well because pitch is kind of just like a reflection of everything else that's happening in your voice. I don't
Oh,
remember why
okay.
I went into the this little rant.
No, I think I get that then. All right. So, does that mean I have to like for pitch to really change? I would have to like figure out what else to like mess around with to get it where I want. That's what I'm confused now about. It's
So what's the thing that you're trying to accomplish, or what's the thing you're having difficulty with?
Whenever I listen back or have a live recording, I think the resonance, or like at least my toning, definitely sounds more feminine, which is great. But whenever I hear it, and others when they hear it, it gives a very masculine vibe because of the pitch it's currently at. And I really want to like kind of make it a bit more, maybe not necessarily hyper femme, but at least like androgynous or lower end femme.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really sure where to take the next step to go to there.
So are you thinking that your pitch is too high or too low?
I think my pitch is too low, personally.
Okay. Show me it again.
Sure. Let me do the training.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, yeah. So this is me talking at my fullest right now. It's a bit strained, I've noticed, but I'm trying to work on that one.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I see it. I'm trying to identify if pitch is the thing that's masculine about that sound.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no master, so my understanding could be completely wrong.
Right, yeah. Okay. I do think there's a component of low pitch in there. It's like below average feminine, but it's in the female range.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to explain it, because there was like one record I did where like it does not sound masculine at all, but like there's so little like of it sounding feminine. It was like I'm not sure where to place my voice.
Right, yeah. Hmm. Ah. Ah. Oh. Ah. I feel like it's more vocal fold thickness there. Because, like, I can sound pretty dang feminine at this same pitch range. But
Okay.
the thing that's clocky about or if I try to imitate your sound, then the thing that's like clocky about the sound that I'm producing is vocal fold thickness, which makes me think that that's the thing that'll make the biggest difference for you as well.
Okay. All right.
How much have we talked about vocal fold thickness?
I think my first lesson I had an exercise I thought was like similar to Western Slide, but wasn't. But we taught a little bit, not much. I know that we said like we want to like kind of spread them out so like more air, I guess, goes through for like a more not breathier but lighter, I guess, sounding voice.
Okay.
And you've done like the example with the fingers on your neck.
Right, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it's not so much about pulling the vocal folds. Well, it is about thinning the vocal folds, which makes the distance between them greater. But if all that we're doing is pulling the vocal folds apart, then we end up with a sound like the one that I'm making, where my vocal folds are thick, but my voice is like softer and breathier, but still has like a masculine air to it, because I'm personally not very good at vocal fold thinning.
Yeah, all right.
So let's see. Okay, which exercises have we done for vocal fold thinning so far?
The only thing I can remember, and it wasn't from you. It was something I showed, and we talked more about. It was like the semi-occlusion breath, like like it was basically just an M sound. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's that's a semi-occluded vocal tract exercise, and it will help somewhat. I think it should also help you somewhat with when you have your larynx high and your voice sounds uh like when I bring my larynx like really high, then I can end up with like a harsher sounding voice. And doing SOVTEs can help me to move towards a less harsh sounding voice. And it's
Okay.
partly because of vocal fold thinning, and it's also partly because of bringing my vocal folds farther apart. But that ma thing definitely can help there. It's not the first thing I recommend, but it is helpful. So as far as the exercises that I do recommend, there's a bunch of different vocal fold thinning exercises. With resonance exercises, the same handful of exercises seems to work for pretty much everyone. With vocal fold thinning, it seems to be much more variable between different people. So the first thing that I would recommend is actually there's a video by Ziana where she lists like 8 different vocal fold thinning exercises.
All right.
Yeah, it's a good video. It's got a lot of things to try in it. And so I'm gonna go over some exercises that aren't in this video, and you can go to this video to see the other ones.
Snap. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll save that right now.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so I'm gonna hop on camera now. Okay, so the first and easiest exercise for vocal fold thinning is cheating. So if we look at the angle between my neck and my head, kind of like that, I can kind of squish my larynx around in a way that thins my vocal folds, and I can squish my larynx around in a way that thins the vocal folds. This is a really like immediate way of like finding out what your voice personally sounds like when you have thinner vocal folds. So if I stretch my chin upwards towards the ceiling, then my voice kind of gets this like harder, harsher quality. And so it sounds like ultimately more masculine, especially when I try to like lower my larynx and like combine it with like darker resonance. But even if I don't do that, even if I like brighten my voice all the way, I still get this like really like kind of harsh, hard sounding voice if I smush my neck in this direction. And then if I go in the opposite direction, then I get a much softer sound. My vocal folds are like not all the way thinner, but they're considerably thinner. So like my voice sounds softer, and especially when I combine it with bright resonance, then I get this really nice feminine sound. So like harder, harsher sound, and then softer sound. So try both of those.
Sure. So the first one is like look straight to the ceiling.
Pretty much, yeah. The specific thing you want to do is change the angle between your neck and your head. So like just looking at the ceiling won't do anything, but stretching your chin up will.
Okay, yeah, so I got my chin stretched up. You want me to do like an ah or something?
Yeah, sure.
With resonance change or just where I'm resting?
Let's try resting first, then with resonance change.
All right. And then down. All right. And then with resonance. All right, with resonance. Oh, that hurts a little bit.
Yeah. The problem with this exercise is like we're straining our larynx in a way that we don't normally do, so it can get tricky, and it can get probably dangerous. I'm not sure.
There was an instant like pinched pain, so I was
yeah,
like,
stop if it hurts.
So that was me doing it down. All right, I can hear a little bit of a difference with doing the cheating thing, whatever it was called.
Cool. You tried downwards?
Yeah, I can try downwards.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like especially if you do it one after the other. Uh, 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 yeah,
all right.
yeah. So this is
I
another
like that.
example of like pitch being a thing that changes when anything else changes. So like if I try to maintain the same pitch, uh then well that was actually a really good demonstration. Sometimes it's not as good of a demonstration, but if I don't bother keeping the same pitch, uh uh that's interesting. I wasn't expecting my pitch to go down when I brought my chin down. I don't
Yeah,
understand why that happened. I kind of like the sound. It's very soft.
it is.
Okay. So that's the first exercise, cheating. Next exercise is directly modifying the thickening muscle. So to recap, and I've done this before, but for just to make sure that we're on the same page, and for anyone who hasn't heard this explanation, here I'm going to use hand gestures to mean thick vocal folds and thin vocal folds. So I'm using this like Spock, live long and prosper, Star Trek hand gesture to mean thick vocal folds. And I'm using this metal devil horns hand gesture to mean, excuse me, to mean thin vocal folds. And this is a pretty literal representation. This represents the side of my vocal tract. So imagine like a cylinder here, and my vocal folds are like folds of skin that are sticking out of the side of my vocal tract. So thin vocal folds are sticking out of the side of my vocal tract relatively little, a relatively small distance, and thick vocal folds stick out of the side of my vocal tract a relative bigger amount. So the way that we control vocal fold thickness is there are muscles running through the vocal folds, and tensing those muscles thickens them. So it's kind of like when you tense your bicep, your arm gets thicker. So the same thing happens with the vocal folds. When you tense those muscles, your vocal folds get thicker. I guess I can, yeah, when you tense those, I guess, I don't know. I don't know if there's a clearer way to represent this. So yeah, I'll just flip my fingers. Anyway, so the exercise is, let me turn on push to talk because I'm not sure if this will go through. Okay, so the exercise is alternating between relaxed exhalation. So relaxed exhalation is just like your whole throat is relaxed. So you want to like really lean into that relaxed feeling. Try to like let go of all the tension and like imagine that you're not using your voice anymore. You're just lying down after a long day or whatever, or you're going to sleep or whatever. So relaxed exhalation is one end, and then vocal fry is the other end. So the specific kind of vocal fry that we're talking about is called M0. It's a laryngeal vibratory mechanism. So the specific type of vocal fry is M0, and then we've got M1, which I'm talking in, and then we've got M2, which I'm talking in now. It's falsetto. And then we've got M3, which I can't do reliably, but it sounds something like.
All right.
But anyway, let me try and get a good impression of that thick and meaty M0 vocal fry. So like, so here I'm like vibrating my entire vocal folds like really, really slowly. You can hear those individual pulses.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So yeah, alternating between relaxed exhalation, and then M0, which is when your vocal folds are like really, really fully engaged. So like, and so the cool thing about this is like, when your vocal folds are fully engaged, then you get this like most masculine possible sound, kind of, because you're thickening as much as possible. And I'm also I'm also like lowering my larynx because that makes it easier for me to do this feeling for some reason. But you don't actually need to do that. So like, but yeah, so this is like me talking with like really, really thick vocal folds. So like, even if I've got like really, really bright resonance, then it still sounds pretty weird. It sounds pretty like froggy. It sounds like this, doesn't sound really feminine. It sounds kind of feminine, but it sounds like really hard, really harsh. And so that's what the vocal fry kind of induces. And then if I go in the other direction, and then I kind of focus on staying in this area where my vocal folds are not engaged, then I get this really, really soft sound, which right now is combined with bright resonance, but I can also do it with dark resonance. So, so now I'm talking with this really dark resonance, but with this really soft sound. So you can really hear the difference between this really harsh, loud sound and this really soft sound.
Yeah.
So I guess I could also do it at like my resting resonance. So here's me talking with like the really thick vocal folds at like my resting resonance. It doesn't sound all that different from my resting voice. And then if I thin my vocal folds, if I thin my vocal folds, then my voice sounds like way more feminine than I normally do. And I'm not very good at doing this without the exercises yet, which is why I don't talk like this all the time. But yeah, you can hear the difference there.
Yeah, I definitely can. Yeah. All right. Interesting. So is it basically just jumping like? So you're going M0 the fry to as relaxed as possible. Like, I'm not sure how would I go from to just normal speaking. I guess if that's just how it is. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so kind of the idea here is you're alternating between thickening your vocal folds and thinning your vocal folds, and you're trying to get a feel for what what it feels like when you switch to thick vocal folds, and what it feels like when you switch to thin vocal folds. So that's actually the most important part of this exercise, is the process of switching from M0 to relaxation, because in M0 the main muscle that you're tensing is the vocal fold thickening muscle, and when you go to relaxing, then that's the muscle that you're relaxing. So you really want to take that feeling of relaxing that specific muscle and then apply it to speech.
Gotcha. Okay, so the exercise would help me identify better what tense and non-tense vocal folds are. Okay, that's
Exactly.
cool. All right, so that's something I'll just be doing. Just every time we're on Discord, just be like, wait, why are you just all the time? It's like, leave me alone. I'm getting better.
Yeah, exactly. I feel so silly every time I do this exercise during a lesson, because like I'm the only voice teacher who uses this exercise. I'm pretty sure it works, but you'd think somebody else would have adopted it if it did work. So.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's gonna be fun because my friends are always gonna be like, "Why are you going all the time?" Like even my roommate's like, I know when you're changing your voice because he'll see my larynx move now. I
Oh,
run,
cool.
yeah. He just keeps calling me out every time.
Nice.
All right, that's cool. All right. Is there any others that you would recommend that aren't part of the list for from Ziana?
Yeah, so there's this vocal fry thing exercise, and then there's the puppy dog whimper exercise, which I believe Wellington came up with. So for that one, you whimper like a sad puppy. So it's like, or if you have like lower pitch range, then like. The point is like you go for like as high a pitch as you can.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I can hit those. All right. Whoa. All right. I wasn't trying to do
Ooh.
anything there.
All right. So that exercise seems to work pretty well for you.
Yeah.
So the way that puppy dog whimper exercise works is one, it's an SOVTE. And SOVTEs are useful for all kinds of things. Two, when you're hitting really, really high pitches in M2, your vocal folds are really, really thin. So it kind of like automatically thins the vocal folds. The higher the pitch you can reach, the thinner your vocal folds are. And then also, when your vocal folds are thicker, there's less space between them. And when your vocal folds are thinner, there's more space between them. And something that's cool about the puppy dog whimper exercise is when you're hitting really high notes in M2, it kind of forces your vocal folds together. So the puppy dog whimper exercise like does like three useful things. It thins your vocal folds, it pushes them together, and it's an SOVTE. And SOVTEs are good for like relaxing our vocal folds so that they're able to learn new things better, basically.
Oh, okay. That's saved. That is on the top of my mind now since you just told me that. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So yeah, so we heard an immediate change with the puppy dog whimper exercise. Let's play with that one for a little bit.
So do it again.
Yeah.
Oh. Now I got stage right.
Oh no.
All right. Oh.
It's okay if your pitch goes up. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, that's actually like a really nice starting point. That's like that's a softer voice than your default, it seems like.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it. Definitely. I do tend to drop down fast though, so I'm hoping I can help keep that more consistent.
Yeah. Kind of all exercises are they're partly about giving you muscle memory, but then they're also partly about like kind of teaching you what it feels like to change specific things in your throat. So like if you just do the puppy dog whimper and don't think about it, then it'll continue to like fade out immediately. But if
Yeah.
you do it and like you pay attention to what it is that you change about your throat, pay attention to the feeling of the muscles like moving and tensing and relaxing.
Yeah.
That was a really nice sound. If you pay attention to the feeling of those muscles changing and then you can recreate that feeling, that's what'll make it like really possible to like get off of the training wheels and stop doing the exercise and just like do the muscle movements when
Yeah.
you're starting to change your voice.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've been trying with just like the whispering and slide, just like doing it every day when I wake up. Like when I wake up, I immediately start doing it before I start talking. I'm
Nice,
trying to get
nice.
to the point where like my resting voice is a bit higher than normal, but I'm not sure how long that's going to take. That's going to take a long time before that actually happens.
Yeah. I think how well are you able to maintain larynx height after you start talking?
I'd say decently. I'd say if I am concentrating on it, I can definitely keep it up for a good hour or two. But if I'm like
Nice.
playing a game, I'll drop probably within the first 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll have to
Right.
remind myself. Yeah, because it was the other day I was out on campus doing events, and because I'm just doing nothing besides like talking to students, I just kept practicing, and I was able to hold it for the whole event, which was 2.5
Nice.
hours long. So
That's awesome.
yeah, my throat was also very sore after that day.
Oh
So,
no.
but you get what you take.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Let's talk about that real quick, because like if we're doing whisper slides over and over, that's actually a pretty harsh thing to do to our throats. So the way that that exercise works is like around where my Adam's apple is, my true vocal folds are behind that. And then a little bit above that are my false vocal folds. And the false vocal folds are what's producing the sound when we like make a letter H or when we whisper or when we like do the whisper slide and things like that. Um, and the false vocal folds are very sensitive. Um, but we don't actually have to make a sound with the whisper slide. This is a cool thing about the whisper slide is that the sound is kind of the training wheels, but you can take off those training wheels. So like I can do it really, really loudly. And that's like really harsh on my vocal folds. I can also try to do it more softly. I don't know if you even heard that. Um, that's like kind of a normal volume. And then if I try to do it as quietly as possible while still being audible to my ear, I don't know if that actually came across through the microphone. And then I can do it completely silently without actually exhaling. Like that, you definitely didn't hear because I didn't hear it because I wasn't exhaling. So that's something that I would recommend working on is trying to do whisper slides, first of all, as quietly as possible while still being audible. And then from there, starting to do it without exhaling at all. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah, I've kind of been trying to do it more quietly. Um, Mainly because my roommate will always like banter whenever I make it too audible for him.
Right, right. I guess that's a good incentive. Um, um, another another thing you can do is so bit of science context. Um, Testosterone makes everything bigger, and the false vocal folds are no exception. Testosterone makes the false vocal folds thicker, um, and your false vocal folds kind of like stick into your vocal tract, um, and the more they're sticking in, the harder and harsher your voice will sound. So it sounds very similar to having thick vocal folds, but it's technically a different phenomenon. So something that we can work on is actually false vocal fold retraction. Have we talked about this?
No, I don't think we have.
Okay. Okay. The so your true vocal folds and your false vocal folds are both like from an evolutionary standpoint, they're not for making sounds. They're for closing off your airway so that like food and water doesn't get into your lungs.
Oh.
Yeah, right. So like when you swallow, your true vocal folds smush together, your false vocal folds smush together, your epiglottis like closes like a trapdoor. And this is why swallow and hold can be counterproductive for voice feminization because it actually thickens the true vocal folds and it engages the false vocal folds. And these are all things that we want to do the opposite of.
I
Um,
see. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I did start those. I did start with those exercises before
Okay.
I reached out to you.
Okay. Yeah. So, what was I gonna say? So because your false vocal folds are intended to close off your airway, um, one of the easiest ways to retract them is to do things that involve um, that require you to breathe. So laughing tends to retract the false vocal folds because you're like inhaling and exhaling very quickly. Um, Smiling, and I'm not sure why this is, but like an authentic smile will tend to retract the false vocal folds. And I suspect that it's because an authentic smile crosses some of the same brain wires as laughing. And I think it's retracting the false vocal folds because it's like your brain expecting you to start laughing. So,
Okay.
like, imagining that you're laughing and like just doing like a genuine smile can both induce false vocal fold retraction. Gasping can also induce vocal fold retraction, and you can hear how like my voice sounds like kind of hard, kind of harsh right now. And if I start talking immediately after gasping, then it sounds softer for a little bit. Sniffing can also induce false vocal fold retraction. You can hear that my voice sounds softer right now than it did a second ago. So laughing, smiling, gasping, sniffing. Also, yawning for some reason induces false vocal fold retraction. It also induces lowering the larynx and some other things that we don't want, but when you're trying to learn the feeling of retracting your false vocal folds, yawning can be useful. Another thing that's helpful is the loudness of a whisper. So, like if you're exhaling, you can change the volume of that exhalation without changing the amount of air that you're outputting. So, like I'm going to exhale the same amount. Um, and the way that I'm getting quieter there is by retracting my false vocal folds because the false vocal folds are where that sound is coming from. And so if I pull them away, then there's nothing to make that sound. So
Huh. Okay. Cool.
yeah. So all of this was a big preamble to say that when you're doing a whisper slide, something that's helpful to add to the end of the slide is like getting quieter over the course of it. So not really the end of the slide, just throughout it. So like if I talk at the top of that and I get quieter as I get higher, then my false vocal folds are retracted by the end, and so I end up with a softer sound. I also end up like retracting my true vocal folds when I try to do that, and so I have to inhale every like 5 words. So that's me not having enough control over my voice. But
Yeah, that's a good thing to pull because I don't remember which recording it was, but I had a recording where I was messing with my throat, and I could only say maybe a few words before I had to breathe every time.
right, yeah. So what's happening there is this that's more of a true vocal fold thing. So when your vocal folds are thick, there's less air between them, which means there's less air leak, which means we can say more words before we need to breathe. When our vocal folds are thin, there's much more air between them, which means there's much more air leak, which means we have to inhale much more often. And the way that we compensate for that is something that's built into the puppy dog whimper, which is bringing our vocal folds together so that there's less air leak. So if we're doing the puppy dog whimper, then that's built in, which is nice. If we're doing some other exercises, or if we're just stumbling upon the right sound, then it can be helpful to like manually push your vocal folds together. Not like manually with your hands, but like to use the vocal fold muscles that push them together without thickening them. So fun linguistics fact. When you say uh-oh, the way that you're articulating those sounds, oh, is by closing your vocal folds. It's by bringing your vocal folds together. So when you want to bring your vocal folds together, uh, oh, oh, kind of playing with that sound and that feeling and that muscular movement can help you to get your vocal folds closer together. So, excuse me. I'm very burpy today. So if I'm talking with very thin vocal folds, but with also a lot of space in between them, then I like kind of along the way, I've like brought my vocal folds closer together, which means I have less of that air leak. So like saying uh-oh is one way to get there. There's other exercises as well, but I recommend starting with that one just to see if it works.
Like, sorry.
So if you're starting out with like a really soft, really breathy sound, then try saying uh-oh, uh-oh,
Okay.
uh-oh, and using that to bring your vocal folds closer together.
All right, so a little bit of a breathy sound voice. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Like, wait. It feels weird, but so it's supposed to bring them together, but what is it resulting though? I'm still confused.
Right. Yeah. So, like if all we're doing is speaking in a breathy voice and saying, "Uh-oh, my voice is still breathy. Uh-oh, that didn't solve anything." Then that doesn't really do anything. But and so the purpose of saying "uh-oh" is to pay attention to the feeling of your vocal folds coming together.
Okay, yeah, I do feel a little bit. It's very subtle though.
It is very subtle, yeah.
Breathy.
Yeah. And it's
Okay.
not just uh-oh. It's kind of just like every word that starts with a vowel. So like every, all, apricot, avocado. They all kind of uh uh start with this like feeling of of your vocal folds like opening suddenly from a closed position. So that's kind of just like a thing that you can pay attention to. But there's other ways to bring your vocal folds together as well. So another thing that you can do is you can kind of alternate between your vocal folds being very close together and very far apart.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you can kind of move between like completely relaxed exhalation where you just exhaling without doing anything, and then you can do like a soft breathy voice where vocal folds are closer together, and then like normal voice, and then like this is called pressed phonation, where you're like pushing your vocal folds close together, and then just like when your vocal folds are like so close together that you can't actually talk. So like uh, 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 yeah, so another thing you can pay attention to is like there are different times when we want to close our vocal folds. So like right before a cough, when you're lifting a heavy object, or if you're just like sitting in a chair and like trying to lift the seat of the chair as imitation of lifting a heavy object.
Okay.
When you're technically when you're pooping, you also close your vocal folds, and that's because your lungs actually help to push. That's a science fact. So that's kind of some like audio cues that you can pay attention to know that you're making that sound correctly. If it sounds like all these other activities, and then like uh, uh, uh,
Okay.
so once you have a feeling for this gradient,
Uh, uh, it's weird.
it is weird. It is weird. So in addition to doing this with voice, you can also do this with breath, which sounds a lot nicer and I think is actually a little bit easier to do. It's harder to like explain, but it's easier to do. So like excuse me.
Okay. Okay. That seems a bit easier to do.
Yeah, it's much easier for me, yeah. So that feeling of alternating between your vocal folds far apart and your vocal folds very close together, when you have a breathy sound, that means your vocal folds are far apart. And that means you can compensate by bringing them closer together. So if I give myself, first of all, do that other exercise to get into that really thin vocal folds very far apart sound. So like, okay, so now I'm talking with my vocal folds very thin and also very far apart. And now I'm talking with those same thin vocal folds, but I've brought them together by using this exercise.
Okay. Yeah.
And now I'm talking with my vocal folds very close together, but still thin.
All right. Okay. I think I have an idea with that now. I have to. That's something I definitely need to like do a lot of practice with, because the tightening is a bit not that I don't understand. It's like I don't really feel it too much. So it's interesting. Hmm. Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. We're changing very, very small muscles.
Yeah. So I think even I had a hard time feeling the resonance moving. So if I had a hard time feeling that, or my larynx,
Right, yeah.
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 Wow. I would like dedicate like a whole month just to that to load it. See, no, but wow. Okay. Wow.
If you are doing the puppy dog whimper exercise, then you don't really need to do all these things that we just talked about. But if you're doing like some of the other exercises, then it can be helpful.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll definitely play around with both, mess around, see what's better for me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, maybe the puppy dog just doesn't work for me. So it's good to have the alternative.
Yeah. I recommend like trying all of them and like even if like some of them work better than others, doing all of the exercises, like your brain will start to notice patterns in like what are the muscles that you use that are in common between all of these exercises, which is cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Honestly,
You're welcome.
you shared so much with me today that like I have so much to review and go over, and
Yeah.
my roommate with now.
let's take some notes on what we talked about.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the writing, or should I do the writing?
It doesn't matter. I can write it in my channel.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so what did we talk about? We talked about, God, a bunch of things.
All right. Today's lesson. We talked about, what was the first thing we started with? I know we were talking about pitch a lot, and I think we can be.
So we talked about how like pitch is kind of a secondary effect, and pitch will basically always change if you're changing other things about your voice.
All right, and we'll change. Changing other things. Okay, yeah, I'm changing other things in the voice. All right. Oop. Time for my misspells to come and play now. All right, so we talked about that. I think we got an understanding that, like, or I guess we got through my misunderstanding of like what I needed to do with the pitch. So, and we during like some just example talking, we found out that it was vocal thickness that that might have been like causing the weird masculine, at least to me, sounding.
I think so. It's very common for people to like do like the whisper slide, and then they end up with like brighter resonance, but there's still something that sounds masculine, and usually it's vocal fold thickness that's causing that masculine sound.
All right, and from that we started talking about some exercises, I believe. So we started with the, was it just the puppy dog? I think we did talk about the semi occlusion. I'm not even sure what the abbreviation was. That I think it was like
the VTEs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ma. Yeah.
Ma.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm gonna write that one.
Have I posted the SOVTE diagram in your channel? No. Okay. Let me post that. This is basically just like a list of SOVTEs from the and they're like different ones are effective for different things, and like the ma, that's just like the one on the far left.
Okay.
So
and
some other examples on here, like the lip trill, or like the tongue trill. Like these are all basically effective for the same reasons.
And this does help with vocal fold like thickness, right?
To a certain extent. It helps, I would say, more with some other things. Basically, SOVTEs relax your vocal folds, and so that has a bunch of different benefits. And thinning them is one of them. SOVTEs are also useful for hitting higher pitches, which is cool. They're also useful for increasing open quotient, which like gives you a softer voice. They're also useful for like resting your voice if your voice is tired. So if you're doing like an on-campus event for 2 hours where you're talking the whole time, then doing some SOVTEs are a really good way to rest your voice afterwards.
Okay, good for resting. Okay.
I'll post that diagram in the in here as well in the public channel.
And from there, we started going. You did you linked the Ziana's, which I'll have to view sometime tonight.
Yeah.
And then we went with I think we went during examples. Puppy dog. What was it? It was puppy dog whimper, right?
Yeah.
Puppy dog whimper. Exercise. That I wanted to put a note that seemed to have the upfront results.
Yeah.
All right, did that. Then we went over. Oh, I guess we kind of forgot the whole cheat thing. That was like early on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like tilting your chin down as far as it can go will tend to give you thinner vocal folds. Tilting your chin as far up as it can go relative to your neck will tend to give you thicker vocal folds.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And that's just called cheat.
I don't think it has a name. Cheating is what I call it. But that was like a joke.
Okay.
Yeah, the stretching your neck exercise, I guess.
Cheating. I'm just gonna call it cheating exercise. Boy, I think that's a good name. Cheating exercise. All right. Now, after the puppy dog, we went over another exercise, which was
alternating between relaxed exhalation and M0 vocal fry.
relax
Like
exhale. Okay, that's a good way.
Yeah. Relax breathing out. Could just say relax breathing. That's probably just say that.
Yeah, that's good. Relax breathing to vocal fry or M0.
Yes.
M0. Okay, cool. And then we went from there to the last exercise, which was what was it called? The grunting, I guess. I didn't know if it had a name or not. I don't recall the name.
Oh, right.
The narrowing of
Yeah, I in the past I've called that a quotient siren because it also helps with like increasing and decreasing open quotient. So
quotient siren. Okay.
Yeah, could call it that. With both with voice and without voice.
With and without voice. I guess for my sake, I'll give it the just what would you like to say? It's like narrowing the because it's not thickening the folds, but it's narrowing it.
Yeah, it's bringing them closer or farther apart.
Brings vocal folds. Okay.
Yeah, and it can be helpful to write down like some of the steps. So like breathing and then breathy voice and then normal voice and then pressed phonation and then like I guess glottal stop where you're not talking anymore. Pooping sound, lifting a heavy object sound.
I don't speak. All right. I'm trying to think. Was there anything else? Just comments. Went over team puppy dog whimper, alternating between relaxed breathing and vocal fry, quotient siren with and without voice.
Yeah. So with whisper slide,
Yep.
we talked about false vocal folds a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And so I guess the takeaway from that, if we skip most of what I said, is the quieter you do, the quieter you do a whisper slide, the less false vocal fold engagement you'll get, which will give you a softer sound. So kind of just the quieter you do a whisper slide, the softer your voice will be at the end, basically.
All right, which makes your voice softer. All right.
Yeah, and that's because the long version is that testosterone thickens the false vocal folds, and the false vocal folds are what produces the sound of like the letter H or like whispering, and false vocal fold engagement sounds similar to thick vocal folds. For reasons that I don't fully understand. I need to study more acoustics. But yeah. And then for retracting false vocal folds, you can try alternating between like loud whispering and like quiet whispering while still like exhaling the same amount. It's like making the sound of your exhale as like quiet as possible.
Okay.
And like fun little detail, if you're doing this with your ears plugged, that can help to emphasize the sound of the exhale. Yeah, as Tet puts it, very stressed H versus almost inaudible H.
Okay.
If your ears are plugged, that can help to tune your ear to the sound of your exhalation and making it louder or quieter, which is interesting. I'm just giving you more things to type instead of helping you to type down things that you already learned. Oh, okay. Tet says it's exercise number 8 in Z's vocal fold video.
Oh, okay, perfect. I'll still have it here just so, since we're doing it over just now. Alright, that's good to know. That probably repost that video onto my channel just so I can have ease of access.
Yeah, makes sense. Oh, by the way, does anyone listening have any questions about anything we talked about? You can either type questions in the chat, or since technically the lesson is over, you can unmute and say a question out loud. You can think of questions while we're wrapping this up.
All right. Thank you very much for that timestamp.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. I'll have to keep that on note then. Well,
Okay.
thank you very much, Kelly.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you next time, I guess.
Yeah, it'll be a while, so see you, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. I'll still be hanging out in voice communities sometimes, but yeah, won't be teaching for a while. After this next lesson, which is in 10 minutes, that is.
Of course. Next time I get to talk to you, be like, Kelly, something's wrong. I became more masculine.
Oh no, it's all my fault.
No. Oh, that's one thing my roommate and I have going. So the more femme I get with my voice, the more masculine he gets with his voice.
Nice.
I love it.
All right, I'm gonna pop out Craig.